The circumstances with Carla, I do find extraordinarily different because Carla identifies as a woman. And one of the reasons why I believe that there should be more emphasis on that is because almost everything that Carla has done that we're here to scrutinize relates to her being on her identity journey. Even when she initially is in the circumstance with the co-defendant, one of the reasons why she claims to have gone back was because she was called what was essentially a chicken, but a much stronger word that we don't find to be appropriate to articulate to this day. But that word triggered some psychological impulses in reference to showing forth masculinity when she's been on this journey up until 2020 to hide her true desires of femininity.
When you think you've seen it all, this is just pure madness to me. Now, we're about to watch the parole hearing for this Illinois inmate who was convicted of murdering a grandfather, a taxi driver, stabbing him over $60. Absolute insanity. And then throughout the entire career of this inmate, write up after write up after write up, senior membership in the Latin folks and Satan disciples. I'm talking about being like a shot caller. And yet here we are just finding our way to our true femininity. You can't make it up.
Carl Allen Furrell Jr., number S03263, was interviewed live via WebEx virtual platform from Pontiac Correctional Center on May 20th, 2025 at 9 a.m. The petitioner does identify as female and prefers to be recognized as Carla Allison Furrell, while also preferring to use she, her pronouns, which will be used today. Ms. Furrell was represented by attorney Jocelyn Sandifer. Also present for the hearing on behalf was Ms. Furrell's mother, Melba Crabtree. Ms. Furrell appeared in blue uniform, well prepared, communicated well with respect throughout the interview. Ms. Furrell's holding offense is a 2002 murder with intent to kill conviction out of Perry County, resulting from a negotiated open plea that ended in an original sentence of 50 years. That sentence was altered in 2023 when she accepted a negotiated plea deal of 40 years prior to her youthful offender resentencing hearing that was granted. Ms. Furrell was 16 years old at the time of the offense. She is now 39, having spent 22 years in custody. Her mandatory supervised release date is now September 28th, 2042, with her maximum discharge date being in 2045. In an opening statement, Ms. Furrell argued that it has been 23 years since the offense. She is sorry for her past and takes ownership of the crime, stating she was wrong and can't change it. She stated she was not thinking at that young age and that she portrayed herself how she needed to over the years in order to survive prison. Ms. Sandifer argued in opening that it was gang culture that led to the crime and that changes while incarcerated are evident. Ms. Crabtree testified to her love for her child and that she missed her. She wants to offer support and believes she can help with employment as well as a new start. Statement of facts. On September 26, 2002, Carl Furrell entered into the dwelling place of Roy Thompson in DuQuoin with the intent to commit a theft. On September 27th, 2002, Carl Furrell stabbed the victim, James Adcock, to death in the neck and chest during the course of a planned armed robbery of a taxi driver. Furrell was arrested on September 28th, 2002, and charged with 4 counts of murder and 1 count of armed robbery. Furrell was initially housed in the St. Clair County Detention Center and then transferred to Perry County Jail. Bond was revoked on October 21st, 2003. That same day, the petitioner entered into a negotiated plea of guilty to 1 count of first-degree murder and 1 count of residential burglary, committed when the petitioner was 16 years old, and exchanged for dismissal of other charges, as well as the state's agreement to cap its sentencing recommendation at 60 years total, and to have the sentence for the residential burglary to run concurrent to the murder. While awaiting sentencing on November 5th, 2003, Furrell was involved in a battery incident of another inmate On that date, Furrell and another inmate were playing cards when Furrell asked for a sexual favor. An argument ensued, and Furrell attempted to stab the victim with a pencil. The victim knocked the pencil away and restrained Furrell until jail officers arrived to assist. On December 8th, 2003, at the sentencing hearing, the state argued in aggravation that based on 4 stab wounds that the intent was to kill the victim, that the crime was premeditated, and that it was cold-blooded in nature. The court took into consideration numerous factors, including Furrell's age. The court expressed appreciation for the confession, but was also troubled by the facts that the petitioner had continued to stab the victim in the chest multiple times after fatally wounding him in the neck, and because the petitioner admitted plans to commit further crimes. The trial court noted surprise at the state's offer in negotiation, given that they could have pursued a life sentence, and therefore sentenced the petitioner to 50 years in prison for the murder and 6 months, 17 days for the burglary. Furrell filed an amended motion to reconsider and or to vacate the sentence. The trial court denied the motion for reconsideration. Furrell then moved to withdraw the guilty plea, which the trial court also denied. On December 8th, 2003, Furrell was also found guilty of residential burglary in juvenile court and adjudicated as a minor committed to the juvenile division of IDOC and made a ward of the state until age 21. Furrell filed a direct appeal arguing that the court abused its discretion in denying the amended motion to withdraw the guilty plea because the plea was rendered involuntary by the incompetence of counsel. The court rejected the argument and affirmed the petitioner's conviction and sentence. The Illinois Supreme Court denied the petitioner's petition for leave to appeal. A post-conviction was filed asserting that a recent amendment to the state's governing juvenile sentencing gave the right to a new sentencing hearing. Furrell also made claims related to sentencing errors and a claim of ineffective assistance of counsel based on a conflict of interest. The trial court denied this petition at first stage. The court determined that the petitioner was sentenced to 50 years following a negotiated plea and not an open plea. The petitioner appealed but later dismissed her own appeal voluntarily. In 2018, the petitioner filed a motion to leave for successive post-conviction, arguing that the original sentence was prejudiced and did not take into account for her status as a juvenile, an intellectually disabled person, and a person with mental illness. This was denied, emphasizing the negotiated plea and that the state could have pursued life without parole before agreeing to a cap at 60 years. They also noted that the trial court did in fact consider all factors, including juvenile status, education, mental health, seriousness of the offense, and prospects for rehabilitation. That said, resentencing under youthful offender arguments was granted in 2022. Ms. Furrell accepted another negotiated plea deal to 40 years rather than going through with the resentencing hearing. On June 23rd, 2023, Furrell stated that she took the negotiated plea deal knowing that the resentence would qualify her for parole consideration here. All right, statement as to the offense. Ms. Furrell actually submitted a written affidavit in April of 2024 outlining her version of events. In it, she stated that on September 26, 2002, she and Billy Irvin decided to try and find some money so they could get high and drunk. They were talking and decided to rob a taxi cab. On the night of the 27th, they called a taxi from a woman's apartment by the cemetery. She stated that she had left, changed her mind, and began to walk across the field. She was almost out of view when the taxi showed up and Billy called out to her. She claimed that she told Billy she was good, but Billy yelled back, essentially calling her a chicken. Ms. Furrell states she let her foolish pride cost her her own life along with so many others. She did get in the car and rode to her house in St. John's. She went into her house and tried to find money to pay the driver, but couldn't. She then ran across the street to a bingo game where her mom was and asked for money, but she didn't have any. So when she came back, Billy stated that they should beat him up, take his money, and run. She gave in, and they had the taxi driver take them to a cornfield out of town where they used to have parties. Once there, she told the taxi driver to give her his money. She states that she had a gun pointed at him and that she had gotten from Ashley Fitzgerald's home. The taxi driver wouldn't give them any money, and he stepped on the gas while in reverse. They hit a bump or a ditch, which flung Miss Furrell backwards. The gun she was holding fell into the front seat, at which point she states she began to fear for her life. She stated she took a pocket knife that she had also gotten from Ashley Fitzgerald the night before and used it to stab the taxi driver without thinking about what she was doing. She stated she did it out of fear for her life. She immediately freaked out and got into the front seat with Billy in the back, leaving the victim at the scene. She stated she never wanted to kill the man, only to rob him. She argues that they didn't leave the victim because they were cold blooded killers, but rather because they were scared. They drove and ditched everything they thought um, could lead the police to them. The statement also admits that much of what the state claimed is true, but denies the murder being planned or premeditated. Her position at the time was that she didn't deny needing to be locked up, but that she no longer believes she should be locked up for 40 years. Given this pre-written affidavit, Ms. Furrell clarified some points during our interview. She stated that the residential burglary incident on the 26th was for stealing 2 guns and a knife that she had taken from Ashley Fitzgerald's family. Ashley was a friend and girlfriend at the time. Ms. Furrell also admitted that these were the same weapons used the next day against the cab driver. She reiterated that the plan was not to kill the victim. She admitted that the co-offender Billy Irvin was younger than her at the time, being only 14 years old. She confirmed that she had a gun and a knife while Billy had the second gun. She described the incident as premeditated robbery that went sideways. Ms. Furrell admits that she stabbed the victim in the neck at first and then 3 more times in the chest. She states that she believed at the time the victim was going to grab the gun that she had dropped and that he would then hurt her. She admits to pushing him out of the vehicle from within the car, climbing to the front, and then driving off in his vehicle. She states that she then went to her mother's house, took a shower, burned her clothes, hid the gun, and went to sleep. She then returned to Ashley's apartment where she had stolen the weapons the night before uh, and stayed the night there. On the 29th, she returned to her mom's house, hung out with friends, went with her mom to the pub club, went to Walmart, and then returned to the pub club where she was found by the police, and that's where she was arrested. She does show remorse, and she extends her apologies to the family of the victim. She also confirmed for me that she took another negotiated plea deal, as mentioned, prior to the resentencing. She stated that, again, she knew it would give her access to this parole eligibility hearing. There are numerous youthful mitigation factors that are argued in this case. Ms. Furrell had a 10th grade education at the time of the offense. She described moving with her mom 13 times as a kid due to mom's relationships, resulting in her living all over Illinois and even in Mississippi at one point. She states her father got out of prison at 7 years old and stabbed her in the back and threw a chair at her. This particular event is contested by Ms. Furrell's mother, Melba Crabtree. She states at the age of 9, she was hit by a drunk driver while walking to the store, and a few weeks later was raped by her uncle. She states she was bullied in school her whole life for being unpopular and nerdy. She shared that she lost her best friend at the age of 14 to a drowning incident. This was particularly difficult as this was the only person she had opened up to about being transgender. Ms. Furrell shared that she started using drugs and alcohol at the age of 14, which caused her to lose her mental health. She skipped school, fell into the wrong crowd where she did, quote, stupid stuff to get attention. She was hit by a truck while riding a bike at 14 and argues that her mother actually settled financially in court and then took the money. She shared that she was transgender at the age of 9, but hid feelings from everyone. She didn't come out socially until 2020. She struggled with identity issues and IDOC over the years and eventually told her attorney in private in 2020, who encouraged her to tell her mental health counselor. Criminal history, because Ms. Furrell's entire criminal history involves the juvenile record. This will be discussed in closed session in a bit, and I'll wait for that. Switching to the institutional adjustments. As for social history and support, Ms. Furrell has had no in-person visits since 2006, despite emergency contacts, including her mother, stepfather, godmother, 3 sister-in-laws, and a brother-in-law. She does receive financial support from family and friends, with a sister-in-law providing the most support. She stated that her mom stopped communicating with her in 2007 and has only recently begun communicating again. Again, Ms. Furrell's mental and physical health will be discussed in closed session shortly. She has completed programming for Aim Higher, Inside Out Dads, and most recently completed Money Smart in 2025. She has completed Set Free Bible studies. She dropped, and at one point dropped out of making Time Count program due to a lack of participation. Ms. Furrell shared that she believes in the Christian faith and tries to practice that moral system of that faith. Ms. Furrell completed her GED in 2012, as well as a bloodborne pathogens and standard precautions course. She argued that there is no college offered at Pontiac at the moment, and that has held her back. Ms. Furrell has held institutional jobs as East House help, South House maintenance, inmate kitchen and gallery worker. She does currently have a job in the kitchen. Ms. Furrell has 3 pages of tickets from 2006 to present. There is a total of 5 major gang tickets totaling 3.5 years of segregation, a disciplinary transfer, and 7.5 years of administrative detention and protective custody. There are 5 tickets for fighting or dangerous disturbance, totaling 15 months of seg. There are 6 tickets pertaining to trafficking, contraband, or drugs, totaling 14 months and 7 days of seg. There is 1 major for sexual misconduct with 28 days of seg, 4 minor, and 11 major of these tickets, resulting in 7 months of segregation, were accrued while she was already in administrative detention and protective custody between the periods of January 30th, 2017 and August 22nd, 2024. It should also be noted that a security summary for escorts report from January 31st of this year lists Ms. Furrell as still having active Maniac Latin Disciple membership. In 2025, Ms. Furrell accrued a minor for failure to report for work on June 4th and has since accrued another 4 pending tickets for refusal or failure to show for work assignments from July 4th to July 19th of this year. Ms. Furrell had a response to many of these tickets. Ms. Furrell argues that her 2010 fighting ticket was self-defense, but describes being called a name and needing to defend her honor as a gang member. She admits that the 2011 gang and contraband tickets are accurate, stating she had gang material and was using the candles to give others gang tattoos for money. She admitted that the 2013 gang ticket is accurate, as she ordered another gang member under her leadership to go into protective custody for gang reasons. The ticket record itself revealed that Ms. Furrell used her position in leadership as a Latin Folks and Satan's Disciples affiliate to distribute gang materials around the institution and between galleries, both verbally and written. One source stated that everything had to pass through Furrell first. Ms. Furrell admits that the 2014 gang ticket was accurate in that she had to defend another gang member during a yard fight. The ticket indicates that she, along with 2 other gang members, took orders to violate the victim inmate due to disrespecting their gang. She admitted that the 2014 fighting ticket was accurate, arguing that she was placed in a cell with a child molester and that she refused to stay there, so she got into a fight in order to be separated. Regarding the 2015 drug ticket based on 3 gallons of alcohol, Furrell claims that she was ordered to stab another inmate and that she took ownership of the alcohol request in order to be sent to segregation to avoid that gang order. Regarding the 2016 gang ticket, Furrell claims that Internal Affairs deemed her to be a Latin disciple leader and that Latin folks were accusing her of being a snitch. The ticket indicated that investigation led to discovering that Furrell had been promoted to institutional coordinator for the Latin folks at Stateville by a higher ranking member at another institution, and that Ms. Furrell accepted the promotion. She was given a year of SEG and transferred back to Pontiac. Regarding the 2018 gang ticket, Furrell claims that she was in her cell and uninvolved. Ticket information, however, confirms she was in her cell at the time of the riot, but also refused to cuff up and comply, therefore becoming part of the disturbance. She was sprayed with OC and removed from the cell, and her resistance was evidently visible from security video footage. Ms. Furrell described being placed in protective custody due to being labeled as a snitch by IA and didn't know why she was placed in administrative detention. A 2018 administrative detention report stated Furrell was found by intelligence to be an active member of the Maniac Latin Disciples with 3 gang tickets within the last 3 years. Regarding the 2021 damage and drugs tickets, Furrell argues that the pills were hormone pills and damage was to some fingernail clippers. She also expressed having called for mental health crisis at the time. The ticket and other supporting materials indicate possession of torn sheets, which were made into 85 feet of line, 3 extra trimmer blades, a sheet made into a slip knot noose, an altered sock with approximately 8 PPE mask strings attached, an altered nail clipper, and 100 prescription pills of 2 varieties hidden in a vitamin bottle. Regarding the 2023 sexual misconduct, Furrell maintains false allegations of sex with a cellmate as retaliation for filing complaints against prison sergeants. She also maintains that the 2024 contraband ticket for altered items are all just laundry mistakes, as opposed to intentionally dyeing them that way. She shared that she feels she had to portray herself as a gang leader in order to survive. She admits she held status with the Latin folk gang in prison. She states she learned that segregation was safer than general population and therefore found ways to be segregated. She describes her behavior as, quote, weaseling her way into BS gang tickets and then pleading guilty in order to be placed in seg and avoid even worse gang orders. She was originally received at IYC Harrisburg in 2003, transferred to Graham and then Menard in 05. She remained there until Pontiac in 2014, a year-ish in Stateville in 2015, and then back to Pontiac in 2016. As mentioned, she was placed into administrative detention from January 30th, 2017, due to security threat group affiliation with a leadership role, as well as consistent gang tickets, and she remained in maximum security protective custody until August 22nd of 2024. Toward the end of this period, she was graded medium security, but remained under maximum security protocols due to the location. She signed out of protective custody on August 22nd, 2024, and entered general population. She is currently medium security with no escape risk. Ms. Furrell states that she does her best to avoid negativity now. She participates in programs. She mentioned she is soon to transfer to Centralia. It should be noted that the records from the master file indicate she turned down this transfer to the prison program at Centralia in November of 2024. So she may have an update today. She argues she is a changed person and is now smart enough to know how to walk away. She would like to have her own kids one day. She feels she is wasting space in prison, that she is beyond ready for freedom and has rehabilitated beyond words. When asked about gang renunciation, Ms. Furrell stated she went through the process but was denied formal gang renunciation, states that she left in 2018 and covered her tattoos. She did share the greatest lesson she learned in the last 22 years, but is that it's harder to do the right thing than the wrong thing. It takes focus to know the right thing and then do it. Over the years, she has learned art and chess, and she has seemingly grown up in the prison system. Current parole plan is to live with her mother in Murfreesboro. Shortly after release, she would like to move into her own place. Plans to provide for her basic needs by calling unemployment for assistance with clothes, getting a license, and seeking a job. Wanted to sign up for an ex-felon benefit program, as well as sign up for Social Security disability income based on emotional stress from incarceration. She is willing to apply anywhere for a job and would like to work in a tattoo shop and sell her art. She does not have any specific jobs lined up at the moment, but she does plan to also be a speaker for the transgender community in order to educate others. She does have support from her mom, sister-in-law, and an aunt figure, and mentioned having support from the ACLU as well as a senator. There is no public opposition to this petition at this time. And with that, I will make a motion to move into executive session unless anybody has any questions now.
All right, that was about an 11-minute executive session, and now they're going to question the attorney and the inmate, and the sound quality is really bad. If you're wearing headphones, just be a little bit cautious. It's going to jump in and out. I tried doing my best to fix it. You're going to have an echo sound as well, and I'm sorry about that. All right, let's jump in.
We'll call the witnesses, and you need to be sworn, including the attorney.
Ms. Furrell, I'm also going to have you put your hand up as well. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you will give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Yep, you're good.
I do.
I'm not sure if Ms. Burrell's mic is working. Yeah, she did mouth it.
I think her mic is off.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Yes.
Yep, thank you.
I do.
All right, thank you. Before I address what I consider a long list of disciplinary notes, and I think because there was so much time spent on those, there are probably plenty of questions surrounding them. I wanted to first go back and emphasize some of the remarkable things that Carla has done, because some of her certificates or her participation in a number of different activities. Should I mean, I don't hear myself, but do you guys hear me? I can be louder. I'm trying to be considerate of how my voice carries. But what I wanted to do was make sure that I went back and made some specific references to things that Carla has done to obviously try to offset some of these other concerns you guys may have, but also to emphasize the fact that over the last 23 years, Carla has not just been getting in fights and picking on people or subjecting herself unnecessarily to quarrels, but she's also literally and actually tried to make some significant efforts forward. I also do want to emphasize that she's also been in a number of places that don't offer the type of education that some individuals are allowed to have access to. So I'm also going to be reading forth some instances where Carla actually applied to certain things and rejected, just for the purposes of you guys knowing that she has made some independent efforts. They're not quite in chronological order because I just put them in order in reference to how they came into my office. In 2023, she received a certificate for blood-borne pathogens. This was actually following some circumstances that happened with COVID-19, and so she wanted to kind of be more aware. This also helped her in being able to assist in some medical instances that arose. She's also contributed several different times to the Salvation Army and received a certificate for the same in 2022. In 2019, while she was at Pontiac, she participated in a soccer tournament and actually came back in first place. In 2022, she participated in a domestic violence awareness seminar and received a certificate for that. In 2024, she also participated in an ongoing mental health awareness course and received a certificate for completing that. It was mentioned that she participated with the Set Free Ministries. I do want to note that that this completion wasn't just a one-time course, that she actually submitted and completed 3 different courses, scoring on average in the 80th percentile, receiving 2 units for one and then 1 unit for the other well, they're not subsequent, they're actually prior, in 2017 and in 2016. In 2019, she also participated and received a letter from in a domestic violence workshop, but participated by giving donations. In 2018, she actually she applied to participate in a paralegal studies program. Oh, there we go. It's in and out. A paralegal studies program. She was unable to complete this program because there was a financial cost associated with it. In 2017, she applied to be a pen pal.
Excuse me, counsel.
Yes.
All of us have reviewed the petition.
Okay, you have reviewed.
And
Okay,
we've seen these documents.
okay. So I will move further from that then. So you have seen those things. And I'll move forward. They talked about the jobs. I do also want to mention some of the trauma pieces that I don't think were explicitly underscored when Carla was evaluated finally by Dr. Cuneo. He articulated some very significant circumstances in reference to her mental health. And I think along the way, those mental health circumstances never really were taken into full consideration. Both times when she ultimately went to be resentenced or requested that the resentence take place, there was a heavy emphasis on the fact that Carla entered into a negotiated plea. Now, Dr. Cuneo articulated that she would have been classified had she been appropriately diagnosed at the time of 16 as mildly or close to mentally retarded. Now, obviously, those are not words that we still use today, but scientifically, those are words that do give a proper assessment of where Carla's mental capabilities were, and that she actually scored in the sixth percentile. The sixth percentile. That's extraordinarily low. In addition to that, one thing that was failed to be mentioned is that not only that evening when the circumstances occurred was the Carla go looking for drugs and alcohol, she found drugs and alcohol. And there is significant support that exists that Carla was on LSD at the time that the incident occurred. And oh, okay. There we go. Is that better? And I wanted to make reference to that particular point because I think that it
Counsel,
underscores
that's speculative at best, that she was.
on LSD.
Yes.
Well,
And that, unless you have facts to support, because you're basing an argument based on speculation, that we're here to highlight the petition, errors, omissions, and highlights.
yeah.
But speculative, you know, it is.
Well, I'd say that Carla, outside of Carla reporting it back when she was 16 years old and her counselor failing to make significant strides to make that determination, most of what we get from any client or defendant is speculative in the sense that they're the ones providing the information. And in reference to alcohol and drug use, Dr. Cuneo did articulate that he believed that that was a portion or part of what contributed to her behavior, along with her mental deficiency.
Understood that that is contributing to her behavior. Is there anything else?
In reference to her background,
Well, what you're talking
well,
about.
I was making those points because I don't think I believe that those were omissions that weren't highlighted at the time that the report was just articulated, but I can move forward from that. I think that ultimately one of the larger circumstances here that the board would want to address is the reason why Carla may have so many tickets. So I will then transition to that point and make arguments that I don't believe were effectively articulated when Carla's presentation was made. Now, the circumstances with Carla, I do find extraordinarily different because Carla identifies as a woman. And one of the reasons why I believe that there should be more emphasis on that is because almost everything that Carla has done that we're here to scrutinize relates to her being on her identity journey. Even when she initially is in the circumstance with the co-defendant, one of the reasons why she claims to have gone back was because she was called what was essentially a chicken, but a much stronger word that we don't find to be appropriate to articulate to this day. But that word triggered some psychological impulses in reference to showing forth masculinity when she's been on this journey up until 2020 to hide her true desires of femininity. And so Carla is going to explain this in much more detail, but what happened with Carla is that she ultimately found her most solace times and solitude in segregation. And when you're in the prison system, you ultimately can't choose or say, "Hey, I just want to be segregated," or "Hey, I just there are reports where she's asked to be in single cells. Sometimes she's back in double cells, but she doesn't get to make those choices. And so, what she's going to articulate as she goes through and talks about each of these tickets is not so much that she didn't do it, but that she did do it for a greater cause. And that is a challenge because she felt like the best role for her was to remain often in segregation. Now, she did ultimately, when she first got in at the age of 16, she found some community in gang culture. That's not uncommon. That is something that does happen with some individuals because they identify with gang culture and they have come out of gang culture. And ultimately, Carla found over the last decades that for her, what was the most im- important place of peace was in segregation. And so, in reference to each of there, and there have been several major tickets. Maybe there are some that you guys want to ask questions about specifically, so I can address those specifically. But the overarching position for Carla in reference to these tickets is being in a space where she could control what was happening, and that was in solitude.
Counsel, but rather than you explaining why she did the tickets and her motivation, why don't we have her testify and she can certainly articulate that.
Okay.
You want me to go now?
Carla, go ahead and tell us what you heard your attorney argument and you heard the presentation. So why don't you
Yeah.
tell us your version?
So, as as you know, I've been gone for 23 years. So initially, when I first came to Menard Correctional Center, you know, I was scared. Imagine going to that, pulling up in that correctional center at 18 years old, and you see him in this big castle. So I heard all the stories, and yeah, it was hard. Like I was thrust into an environment. It was gang culture. It was gang. It was so much violence, so much stuff in that. Like I'm sure you know about all the violence that's happening in Menard. So that environment, I had to wrap my mind around how to survive it. You know, how to survive without catching cases. You know, without getting stabbed. There's so much stuff that I had to avoid. Sacrifice. I sacrificed. No, yeah, I did time mistake, but man, I would rather done that time mistake than the worst case scenario. The pain, is real. Imagine waking up every day in population of Menard, not knowing if you're going to be stabbed or forced to, give a knife to someone else. Imagine life. You're surrounded. You're surrounded by people that's locked up for killing, serial killers, locked up for the worst of the worst. I was in Menard for 9.5 years in population. And it was hard. Most of the time I had to spend in SEG. I wouldn't have spent in this SEG. I would have caught a new case. I would have lost my life. Imagine Sally, not knowing if that Sally is going to stab you. Not knowing if that person is going to end your life. There's so much things you could say that, hey, I got this ticket, but those STG tickets I caught, those weren't violent tickets. Most of them were 90. There was one that was the only one that was, and that was the assault that happened in 2014. But had I would have not participated in that on that same yard, I would have been stabbed. I would have been. Who knows? I could have been killed. Man, there's so many things that you could judge me for. My past is real. Well, But everything, every ticket, every STG ticket I caught, it was to avoid a bigger one. It was to avoid situations I couldn't reverse. That drug, that alcohol ticket in Stateville. I plead guilty to that. That wasn't mine. I plead guilty to that. To get out of something that could have been way worse. I made good decisions. And some could be looked at badly. It could said, hey, you made bad decisions in your point of view, but my point of view, no, I made good decisions because I'm alive. You know, it may cost me years to say, but it's a fact. I'm alive because of those decisions. I changed my life around.
Could you speak to that a little bit? Could you tell us how you changed your life around?
Man, think about this. I came to Pontiac in 2016 again, but I left Pontiac in 2015. July 21st, I left that same day. I was snaked by my cellie in Stateville. The person that got off the bus with me, he hit me right here. I had to defend myself. And I tackled him, and I just wrestled him to the ground. That was pretty much it. That's what I did. I spent 30 days in SEG at that point. You know? And at that point, like, I've never caught another fight ticket again. Up until June 23rd of this year, I was never in no physical altercation with nobody. June 23rd of this year, in the inmate kitchen, I was assaulted. I was hit in my face. I didn't hit back. That shows something. That's just so something. I didn't hit back because I didn't want.
That shows a lot of growth from your prior encounters that you were able to come through that, and I really respect and appreciate acknowledging that and your journey here. Colleagues, do you have any questions? Mr. Boland, do you have any further questions? All righty then. Well, thank you so much for your testimony, sir or ma'am. All right. Do you want to deliver a closing argument then?
Yes, well, and I also she didn't get a chance to explain, and I don't want to misspeak in reference to her denunciation of the gang activity. There was an initial question in reference to that. She started that process, went through the process, and was denied. Okay, so ultimately,
you want to have her?
Yes, okay. You can go ahead and Carla explain what happened with that.
With the denunciation of the gang activity.
I put in to renounce, and Miss Mazzini, they recorded me and everything, and I renounced. I went through the whole process, but Springfield denied it. I then told me, Miss Mazzini then told me that it's rarely ever accepted. They're gonna always acknowledge me as a gang member once I'm in there, unless I get transferred to Logan. So again, I put in again to renounce. A few years after that was I believe 2023 or in that area. And Nolan, IA officer Nolan, told me it'd be pointless to do so because it's not going to amount to nothing. They're going to always view me as that, and unless I get transferred to a different facility like Logan or I go home. So that's what they said to that. They denied it for whatever reason, but it's a fact. I don't gangbang. I got my tattoos covered up. And not only that is I'm transgender. I would be killed if I went back to the population. I'm in medium security unit surrounded by everybody that came from PC. The unit I'm in right now is basically a medium security PC. They can identify however they want, but that's what it is. They don't gangbang over there. They don't do none of that. Like, if I were to go to Menard right now, population, and try to gangbang, they would kill me. I would be looked at as the stupidest person on earth for even attempting that. And I would never even put myself in that situation. Can I say this? There's more things that I would love to speak upon if you guys give me the opportunity. I don't know if this is the time for that or not.
You know, you have a very detailed submission. We've had the opportunity to review it and your certificates. If there's something specific, but otherwise, I think it's time to wrap up.
It is specific towards, so for the last 2 months that we had this continuance, they had put Adova is a new program on the tablet to get certificates. If you review my transcripts and you review it, I spent over 100 and something hours devoted to getting certificates. I received 47 certificates. I can give you you can log on to adobe.org as we speak, and you look up my code, and you'll see my transcripts, you'll see my time spent in each course, my certificates I've earned on that, and there's 47 certificates. The longest one's 25 hours and 50 minutes I spent on one certificate, and I've completed some good ones in my opinion, and I think that also shows, that I'm striving to better myself. I'm striving. I want to go home so bad, you don't even know. But
Thank you for
if
sharing
you
that update. That was important information for the record.
yeah, I could give you the code if you want. My
I
lawyer
don't think
also
we
got
need the
code.
code. We're kind of familiar with that program, and we understand exactly what it is you're sharing with us. That's notable for the last 2 months. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there anything else that?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say, I mean, I know it's lunchtime. You've heard all these things. I really just want to encourage the board, though, to consider the complexity of where Carla found herself throughout her time, and I just feel as if the tickets have been you know magnified, and the things that she's done to change have been minimized, but she has changed, and there's no way that she could have expressly come out and been who she was and still been in the life she had become, not even accustomed, but that she used as a tool and a mechanism to stay alive. And I do think that that speaks to, you know, a lot. And like she said, there had been a significant period of time, almost a decade, without any violent behavior. And that is an indication of her growth.
I'll just comment. I can't speak to Ms. Furrell's associations, but I know often transgenderism would be looked down upon in the gang community. I think there's credibility to what's been shared today. And Ms. Furrell, clearly these are difficult decisions before the board with many considerations, but I do want to acknowledge the strength that you've shown in your journey and in your path, even with anybody going through Menard, much less with some of the complexities that you faced. And I think you've done an incredible job articulating yourself today. I just wanted to commend you on that.
Any other questions from the board?
From the board? All right. Do you have a motion, Mr. Boland?
I do. Thank you. All right. After considering all the statutory factors that are before us today, my motion this morning is going to be to deny parole at this time.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Coates, Ms. Globoker,
Yes.
Mr. Grubbs,
Yes.
Mr. Heaton,
Yes.
Ms. Schaffner,
Yes.
Ms. Tarones, Ms. Tyson,
Yes.
Mr. Tupy.
Yes. By a vote of 9-0, the motion passes.
Who else did Illinois surprise? The parole board unanimously and swiftly denying parole. And let's just sum up this entire hearing in about like a 30-second summary. We have somebody who murdered, stabbed to death a grandfather over $60. Then at the parole hearing, his attorney makes it all about transgenderism. What we have here is someone who, after committing this brutal murder, has had one of the worst prison records that we have seen from all of our parole hearings. He had 5 pending write-ups right now while waiting for parole. And what we have is an attorney and the inmate saying, parole board, please don't look at my record. You see, to quote what the attorney said, which is absolute madness, the tickets were for a greater cause. I mean, actually trying to gaslight us to think that the tickets were for a greater cause, that the tickets are being magnified and the progress has been minimized. It's like, what progress? What are you talking about? I mean, this is just, it's the most simple case. If you had gone into prison and done well, you might have had a chance for parole. But instead, you go in there, you become like a senior member of a horrible gang. You're apparently like totally involved. You have a gang ticket written just in January. The prison is still saying you're affiliated. You can say you're not as much as you want. And yes, I, like the parole board member said, I agree with the idea that like it doesn't sound like you could probably be a transgender gang member. That, I mean, it doesn't seem like it. But when I looked up online, and again, I'll need to follow on my experts here. Like, you know, where's 23andMe? I need someone to tell me if this is possible or not. But I mean, looking up online, I know this isn't to rely on AI, but they said, well, it could be. They said there's not, you know, if you earned your respect in the gang and you were valuable to them in some way, they might overlook it. I don't know, though. But again, to sum it up, we were just being told by the attorney, and it's the write-ups aren't real. Oh, he only said that this was his, or this was because he wanted to go into seg. It was all part of the journey of like realizing that that he's a woman, and it's just like they just didn't buy it. You know, nothing. It was like, what do you? This is your strategy? Like, you think that this is a wild card? It's like, look, parole board, I need you to overlook one of the worst criminal, prison records that we have here, because he now identifies as female. And the tickets were not his tickets. He was just taking them for a greater cause. Parole board, can't you see? And it's like, whoa. Again, I'm repeating myself because of how insane it is. And I'm not going to be a victim of that gaslighting. I'm just not. It's craziness. It really is. It's like, I have 5 pending tickets while waiting for this parole hearing. Are you nuts? You're all nuts. And trying to play victim, it was totally bizarre stuff. And the attorney, I like, there's something up. I don't know if you recognize also the man behind her, the attorney. They have some special cases that show up here, like trying to, and it was what I also appreciated, that the parole board actually had more knowledge about the case, about the appeal, than even the attorney had. Knew exactly what it was about. Got to give them credit. They did their stuff. It's just wild to me. It's the whole thing. It's just so wild. I really, what I wanted to do for this was actually watch the attorneys talk. You know, like how live streamers watch real time and then comment. I was really tempted on doing that because there's just so many points that I wanted to jump in and just like yell. What are you bringing up the acid? It's like you can't. What are you saying? Why? Because your client said I was on it. Oh, now it's gonna bring it up. Like I think what we're looking at is like a very like a hardcore pathological liar. I'm not diagnosing anyone as Dr. Grande would say. I'm only speculating on a situation like this, but someone who's like really, really like all those traits. I think we're dealing with right here, and it's like you don't get the bottom. You don't get a free pass to parole because you're transgender, and that was pretty much the pitch. It's just wild. It's like what? And even the things that were being brought up by the attorney on the list, like reading like this, like in 2016, my client applied for a program, didn't take it because it was too expensive. And that's like a list of the positives. In 2017, donated to a something or other. It's like, wow. Oh, played soccer and won the championship. I have a hard time seeing that possible, but okay. Oh my God. All right. All right, let's go to Lady Holly's info. And by the way, on Lady Holly was hit by a car last week. Hit by a car. She woke up in the hospital. She was walking her dog, and she was very hurt, of course, and hospitalized for 2 days. And being how crazy Lady Holly is, she still did the research for this hearing. So yeah, if you want to give Lady Holly a shout out in the comment section, please do, because she is one nutty Aussie. All right, so we have the article, and we also have footage, by the way, when the murder happened of the family, who was just, of course, destroyed because they lost a grandfather, a father, a husband, all over nothing. So this is written in 2003. Carl Furrell will be at least 65 years old when he's released from prison. And as we know, by the way, like we know better now, whenever I read articles like this at sentencing, I was like, no, that's just not true. It's just not true. That's not how it works. They will tell us this, but it's never how it works. When he was sentenced Monday in Perry Circuit County Court to 50 years in prison for the murder of cab driver James Richard Adcock in September of 2002. The state asked for the maximum of 60 years, and the defense has requested 25 years, just over the 20-year minimum for a guilty plea. The sentence drew mixed reactions. In 50 years, we don't get Richard back. Even 60 years wouldn't be enough. I would have liked, said Adcock's widow. Surely the mother and son said nothing will compensate the loss. Morgan also said he caught a glimpse of pictures of his murdered stepfather that were introduced to evidence, and he shudders to realize how horrible his murder was. It was a hard decision to make, and I accept the sentence of 50 years, Assistant State's Attorney Jennifer Phipps said. Although she argued for 60 years, she said 50 will still keep Furrell in prison a long time because he must serve 100% of his sentence. Now, look, he was able to get out of this through appeals, and I guess because he was 17 and they changed the law. I don't know. They got certain. Yeah, that's what it was. He was going to get some type of new sentencing, and he took the plea deal because of how old he was. So that's why he's not actually serving 100% of a 50-year sentence. We believe the sentence was excessive under the circumstances. We plan to appeal. Sure. Okay. Since Furrell pleaded guilty of first-degree murder and residential burglary October 21st, he has not testified. He broke his silence Monday, just before Judge James sentenced him. I would like to say I'm sorry for what happened, for the loss and everything. This is real remorse right here. All this time to come up with a statement, even with an attorney to help you, and you say, I would like to say I'm sorry for what happened, for the loss and everything. Furrell 717 said while quietly sobbing, "I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused everybody trouble." Unbelievable. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it happened. I take responsibility. I'm sorry. Can you imagine if you just take this quote, you would never in 1,000 years think that this is an apology for murder. I don't know. I would think maybe it's an apology for loss and everything. I don't know, for maybe stealing money. Um, maybe maybe like getting really drunk at like a sibling's wedding and ruining the party. I don't know. Just two witnesses were called at the sentencing hearing. Testified the first wound inflicted by Adcock was a 3-centimeter knife cut to the side of the neck. It sliced 70% of his arteries. So he's dead right there on the first, causing him to quickly die from blood loss. And as he lay unconscious, by the way, this person on a journey stabbed him 3 more times. 3 more times. So the artery, blood would have been everywhere. Like the person's out of commission. You're done. You're unconscious in a second when that happens. And now he goes and stabs him 3 times in the chest. The defense objected to the testimony introduction of pictures Adcock at the murder scene. The defense refuses pictures of the autopsy. Yeah, they really have no shame. Peoria County Victims Witness Coordinator Marsha Lilly also testified, reading statements of Shirley Adcock. The testimony revealed that the couple had been married 26 years when James Adcock, 54, was killed. Just sick. Did you not realize the expectations we had together? Shirley Adcock asked Furrell through the statement read by Lilly. Her statement also spoke of nightmares she has suffered, strained family relations, a grandchild James Adcock didn't live to see, and more. We're all here today over $70 in cash. $70 the defendant used to buy the devil's lettuce and frozen pizzas from Walmart. She reminded the court that Furrell and his friend had robbed Roy Thompson home the night before Adcock's murder to acquire 2 handguns and a knife with the intentions of robbing and killing. So they first stole these weapons from a home for this intention. And if you heard from when it was read off at the beginning, he was still to this day playing the victim and the innocent person, saying, "Oh, when the cab driver came, I ran to my mom for money. I ran here for money. I didn't want to go ahead with it, but I was called. But I did because of 14-year-old co-defendant. Like everyone knows, when you're that age, you're 17 and you're hanging out with a 14-year-old. The age discrepancy it's massive. It might as well be like 80 and 30. It's like you look up, you're like, oh, 17 at 14. And it's trying to be spun that he was being, influenced by the 14-year-old, who, by the way, I don't know how much time the 14-year-old got. We probably could not find it. And we wouldn't find that info. He was tried as a child and probably just got some juvie time. And Phillips said Furrell had test fired 1 gun and eventually inflicted the fatal blows, and afterward had no remorse but bought devil's lettuce and pizza and planned to commit another murder, which the younger boy would commit to seal their pact. So yeah, it's okay. They planned to have another murder, which the younger boy was going to do, and they were going to seal a pact. They were, it almost makes you wonder what was even going on with the 14 and 17-year-old. What was going on exactly? Tracy said the peer had planned a robbery, not a murder, but that something went terribly wrong that night. He said the plan was to knock the man in the head and have him pass out like in a cartoon. Instead, the murder occurred. Tracy said prison's goal is to rehabilitate and reintegrate, and there is still hope for Furrell, who has learned much in the last year. He said the boy hasn't had a good home life, and even with a shorter sentence, would have no life or family outside prison walls in juvenile court case. And as we know, even while locked up, he received another charge for stabbing someone with the pencil, right? That attorney really would try to make us believe. They tried to rewrite history. The audacity to look at us and say, he only did it because the co-defendant called him a chicken, or maybe a cat, if you get my drift. And that's why did it. Is you can't rewrite history. Oh, it was on LSD. Really, it's nowhere in the court transcripts, nowhere in the PSI, it's nowhere in the articles. Oh, but now today he told you I was on the LSD stuff. Right. Right. Let's just believe everything this inmate is saying. He's not in a gang. Why is there write-up for a gang? He can't be. He's not. It's all those write-ups for the booze and the narcotics and the stolen goods and all of that stuff. That was only because he was doing it intentionally to get SAG, because he was didn't want to be influenced by all the gang members. Come on, guys. Who else is laughing? I don't know. My head's I'm a little out of it. I'm a little out of it. If this felt a little off to you, but this hearing's just nuts. And what else is there to do? Let's go to Lady Holly's fact of the day. Oh, right. I'll share the video with you. We'll leave it with the video for the victims to bring some reality to this, and then Sweet Corn Appreciation Day in 2023 will have the first Sweet Corn Appreciation Day, House Bill 4766, designated August 1st each year to be the day to celebrate all sweet corn farmers and growers around the state. Illinois is one of the top states in the country for production of sweet corn. Here are some more eyebrow-raising state laws that are already on the books. Okay, I mean, that's cool. Oh, I wasn't even screen sharing it? Really? This is what I was showing you guys. I like sweet corn. It's good. A lot of carbs, but it's good. All right. And with that, I'll leave you with the victims.
I don't think it's right. It was not right at all. And, but we all love him. He loved all of us, and we always miss him.
Shirley Adcock held onto a picture of happier times when she and her husband Rich renewed their wedding vows and their dreams after 25 years. But those dreams turned into a nightmare in this DuQuoin field, where a homeowner found Rich Adcock's body early Saturday morning.
She lives right next to the field, just happened to be out in the yard, looked over this field and seen something she thought was a body, went a little closer, verified that it was, and then called 911 right away.
When Sheriff Keith Kellerman arrived on this scene, he says his first thought was murder, which was only strengthened when Adcock's abandoned cab was found a short time later. Right now, Kellerman won't say where or how he thinks Adcock was killed, but he does think he knows who did it.
Got a tip last night on some possible suspects. It panned out. We have 2 juveniles, ages 14 and 16, in custody right now.
Right now, investigators think their motive was robbery. If that's true, Shirley Adcock says the suspect succeeded by robbing her family of a husband, father, and grandfather.
He was never going to be here again, but we will always miss him. He will always be in our lives. I mean, we'll never forget this man. He was a great man.
The circumstances with Carla, I do find extraordinarily different because Carla identifies as a woman. And one of the reasons why I believe that there should be more emphasis on that is because almost everything that Carla has done that we're here to scrutinize relates to her being on her identity journey. Even when she initially is in the circumstance with the co-defendant, one of the reasons why she claims to have gone back was because she was called what was essentially a chicken, but a much stronger word that we don't find to be appropriate to articulate to this day.